Welcome, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to join this episode of Siemens Accelerator webinars. Today, we'll be focusing on serialized manufacturing, and we got expert in that field with us. But before we get into the details, let me give you some housekeeping notes. Let's keep this session as interactive as possible. And to do so, we need you. Just type in your questions in the chat, and directly, anytime during this session, our experts backstage will get back to you with an answer. So let's challenge them. They are eagerly waiting for your questions. And with this, we're set to go. I am pleased to introduce our experts for today's session to you now. The cloud solution that makes serialization simple, that's what he stands for. I'm pleased to welcome the founder and managing director, Movilitas.Cloud at Engineering Industries Excellent, in short IndX, Mark Blenking, coming all the way from Antwerp. Thank you, and a great welcome for you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And we have Gerhard Kress. He's our head of the digital portfolio of the Siemens Accelerator, the famous marketplace. Gerhard, great you're here.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining. And with this, we give it a go and get started. So, thinking of serialization, to my mind comes complexity, lots of regulations and restrictions, and it's different laws in any country. Is it like that? Am I right, Mark?
Yeah, especially if you look at the pharmaceutical industry. It's an industry that is highly regulated. And what we see in different parts of the world is there is more and more counterfeiting. So drugs, which are not the real drugs, they enter the supply chain. They're dangerous because it can be that it doesn't contain anything. Then it doesn't harm, but it doesn't help you. But also it can be that there is not an ingredient in there that should be in there. And people are literally dying because of these medicines. So what governments are doing in more and more countries is actually putting legislation in place to actually be able to track and trace every package of medicines at the item level. And that is where, we're trying to help. The interesting thing is also that more and more other products are being involved. So food industry is an important part. We see also in Europe the digital product passport coming. We see clothing that is important. So there are many, many reasons why people actually want to serialize the products.
And how does Siemens Accelerator portfolio match all these points which Mark mentioned, Gerhard?
So first of all, one of the important parts about Siemens Accelerator is that we want to provide best-in-class solutions and offerings to our customers, really addressing business problems. And no company can do it on their own, just alone. Therefore, we started when we created Siemens Accelerator to open up our portfolio, say, we need to provide capability from Siemens, but we also actively need to invite and bring in ecosystem of partners. And you're exactly one of those, and we're happy to have you on board because this provides capabilities that our solutions don't have. You add on to that, and you help our customers to quicker realize the value they have. We are a big supplier for pharmaceutical companies. We're a big supplier for the food and beverage industry, for example. And it helps just to be able to integrate your offering so that a plant delivered by us or a packaging station that we do the automation about that can quickly be deployed and has this serialization in there.
Correct.
I think track and trace is a part that's getting more and more relevant for our customers. And you already mentioned that it's guaranteeing quality from the source to the end consumer as one part. The other part is looking at sustainability, understanding what ingredients are there. When you create something, customers want to know what they're consuming, but also when later on they dispose of it, with the product passport, where has it been sourced from, what's the carbon footprint, how can I, in the best way, recycle that and make sure we can really keep our environment as safe as possible. And of course, and I think that's, for me, of course, the most emotionally relevant one is making sure that we get the right quality, not just in food, medication, and that we can give the consumers the trust they need to have in these products, that they're actually doing what they should.
Correct.
So what Accelerator does is really, we opened up our portfolio, we made sure that those things can be integrated, And we deliver that together through our marketplace, so customers can see that is something they can easily access. They don't need to search the web for hundreds of thousands of possible solutions. We say, look, we have partners on board that we know about, they're trustworthy, they're good. Bring them in, make sure that we deliver more value to our customers. That's what the whole thing is about. That's why I'm happy to have you on board. And that's why actually we're investing strongly into bringing also partners into the forefront, because that's what delivers more value to our customers.
Mm-hmm. And also you mentioned all these businesses, and all things come at the end to an end customer that requires packaging, and packaging also requires serialization to get it better under control. And serialization, here we are at your playground. So Mark, can I ask you to briefly describe Movilitas.Cloud as such, as a company? Tell us about your offerings and also explain what's so special about it. And especially interesting for us are examples, like real use cases, what you do with your customers for the use of the end customer at the end.
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, most of the customers today are using serialization because there is a law. So they have no choice, they need to do it. What Movilitas.Cloud is doing, as the name already implies, it is a cloud-based solution. What is the advantage? We talk about life science industry, so validation is an important piece. That means every software that a life science company is using needs to be validated. Well, we have been able to manage a cloud-based solution that we keep in a validated state, so the customers can use it immediately. So the speed in which you can use it is enormous. I mean, you can start today if you want. The second thing that is important is that a supply chain is not just one simple chain, it's more a supply network. It's very complex. You have different business partners that you need to work with. For production, a lot of companies that own the products don't really package it themselves. They outsource it. So that also means that you need to have integration with those companies. Mm-hmm. Those integrations are expensive. Traditionally, that's all based on file exchange, which of course we support because most of the market is using it. But we also allow to invite your business partners immediately, like in Facebook. You want to be my friend, you want to be my business partner. So we reduce from a couple of weeks, we reduce it to a couple of hours to make that connection. Mm-hmm. That is an important piece. And the other piece that is important is that because we're in the cloud and we're using modern cloud-based technologies, is that the amount of data is pretty much unlimited. So you don't have to throw data away. Plus you actually collect data from all the different companies that are connected. And that gives a lot of value to the customers. And one thing that is underestimated is that marketing departments can really use that data also to know where does my product end. You can also get your customers involved in your products and provide special programs. You can provide maintenance programs that people register the product that they bought. So there are so many advantages for companies to do this. And what we see today is that a lot of products are already on the market. There are packaging lines controlled by Siemens. And what we see today is that those companies want to do serialization, but they put it then at the end of the process. So they first produce everything, and then they're going to serialize it. Mm-hmm. Well, what we're saying, why don't integrate it in your process? You have an existing packaging line, put our solution on top of it in the cloud, build an integration over modern APIs, and you're done. So it doesn't have to be a very big project for which you need to ask big budgets and need to plan it. No, you can start small and then you can start growing. And that is, I think, an important piece.
It sounds like it's very, very easy and you have totally under control what this complex serialization structure is about. And Gerhard, you're nodding here, so I guess you also agree that serialization and integration nowadays is not complex anymore.
Exactly, and I completely agree. And I think when you use modern technologies in the cloud, you provide proper APIs, interfaces that you can access. Integration goes a lot faster. I mean, if you look back to the whatever good or not so good old days, integration projects would take you months, maybe sometimes even a year or two, and lots of people walking around. That's not the case anymore. What our customers appreciate, and that's what we drove in Siemens Accelerator, we created these X offerings by saying they're open, they're interoperable, they're flexible, they're secure, there is a service. These are the value promises we deliver. This is not just because they sound nice, but because they deliver value to customers. It's very quick and fast to integrate different things. You have a packaging line, you understand the different components that you have, you provide serialization, you can track that, you can offer them to customers, not just that you fulfill the legal requirements, but you can also enable the customers to put on top of that extra value-added services. They can, let's say you have whatever food products ending up in a supermarket. They're coming to me today that say, you can trace exactly where I sourced that material, what's the carbon footprint, what type of farm produced the ingredients. Suddenly, you allow the vendor a very different connection to the end user, the consumer of that good. But for that, you need to have this complete line. Accessing the data is only possible if it's in a cloud environment. If that sits on whatever server on some hard disk, forget the idea. So for me, this whole part of cloud means faster integration, faster time to value, and it allows the producing company to add additional value that the consumers might want to have. The whole idea of Siemens Accelerator is helping our customers in their digital transformation, helping them to realize more value, and in essence, being more successful as a company. And therefore, I think the way you're going is absolutely right, and that's what I would love to have more partners driving it this way, because generating more value for our customers and for their customers, that's what we need to drive for.
Correct.
So we're talking about living on cloud 9. As we talk about here, we got the cloud services. They definitely have great impact. But on the other side, your customers definitely have challenges. So can you let us know about the key challenges your customers are approaching you to solve and help them?
Yeah, if you look at the issue, I mean, traditionally, products are being produced and you take a batch of a product, which means that all those products are the same. If you go to the supermarket, you buy 3 tubes of toothpaste, you take 3, they're all 3 the same. If you give them a unique number, they're actually all going to be different. But that has a big impact on the logistics, internal logistics. Because if I now need to grab some products, I need to know exactly which ones I took. So there are a lot of challenges that the ERP systems, the warehouse management systems that are being used today, they can handle amounts, but they are not so good in handling details about, I need to ship 100 goods, but not so good to register which 100 goods that I actually selected. And that is what one part of the serialization is. The other part is actually, how do you actually integrate in your existing packaging lines and in serialization solution? How do you put a code on your product? Do you label it? Do you print it directly on the product? And people have the feeling it's very complex.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just a matter of having a printer that can print it, having some good control, PLCs, that is controlling the line to integrate it, having a camera to read what you just print to make sure that the print is okay, and have a system on top of it that can manage these thousands or millions of serial numbers. And that is step number 1. And then after that, the tracking and tracing can start, which we also provide. But the real first step is actually making sure that you can actually serialize the products and have that process under control. That you know exactly every single serial number, what is the status that is changed. And then you can start managing your supply chain. That's.
It seems like you all got it under control, Mark, and you definitely
hope so.
Have this whole process in mind and know the way. In regards of really presenting it to us how easy it is and not as complex as we think, and kind of putting all these things together. Would you like to take your seat in the cockpit and show us in the demo what this looks like?
Sure.
All right,
okay.
Let's give it a go.
Thank you. So let me start with one slide to give you a little bit an idea about where to position serialization in the whole process. So we're really focusing on the first step. So typically what's happening, a batch is being produced and a batch is being produced from different other batches. We're not going to talk about that part. We have an application, genealogy, but that is a separate topic. When we talk about pharma, there is also electronic batch recording, something that Siemens provides out of the box, also something we're not going to talk about. But from the moment the batch is actually ready with the active ingredient, known as batch Z here, it has a lot number, it has an expiration date, it has a manufacturing date, and now what you want to do, you want to serialize it. If you take it very simple, what serialization is, assume that you make in your kitchen 10 liters of soup. Yeah? You put it in 10 bottles of 1 liter, and you give them number 1 to 10. That is what serialization is all about. Yeah? Now you can identify every bottle automatically. The second thing is aggregation, and that is what we do to make it a little easier. Yeah? If you have your 10 bottles of soup and you need to carry them somewhere, you want to put them in a case or in a box. So you give that box also a number, and you can actually say this box contains soup bottle 1 to 5 and the other one 6 to 10, for example. And you give them also a serial number, known as a container number, the serial shipping container code. And of course, the cases you can put onto a pallet, and you give that pallet also a number. So you can scan the pallet and you know exactly all the serial numbers that are in there. If you take a look at, first of all, what Siemens is providing, we're providing Movilitas.Cloud as a solution in combination with Siemens. So you can actually extend your packaging line with serialization for different industries. Movilitas.Cloud is a cloud-based solution, so what do you need? A browser. Everybody has a browser. We can extend it with a mobile solution, available in the App Store, available in Google Play, to allow you to do scanning operations. Something we're not going to talk about today, because today we focus on putting the codes on the product, and we have actually printers. We can print straight to printers from Movilitas.Cloud to print labels. Very useful if you want to do, for example, a pilot. Let's move straight into the product. So if you actually buy the product from the accelerator or take a subscription, because you're not buying, you take a subscription. Nice thing is also the subscriptions are actually month by month. Yeah? So that is an advantage. Why is that an advantage? Well, you don't have to commit for a long period. If you're not certain, you can actually do it for a shorter term. What is included? Actually, what is included is the serialized manufacturing application that is here at the bottom. Reports and analysis comes with it. We also include actually serial number management. So that is the module that allows you to generate serial numbers randomly. And we have actually the API to integrate with your existing infrastructure. Not only with your packaging lines, but also with your ERP system or your warehouse management system. So how does it look like? This is pretty much how your interface looks like. You have channels, and channels are connections to the outside world. The package contains 2 channels. As I said, a serial number management channel. This channel allows to generate random numbers. Yeah? The length of your serial number you can specify, and you can specify the character set to be used. Why is that important? Well, sometimes you want to say, well, exclude the 0, because it looks too much like an O if people want to read it. Yeah? So you can determine the character set and the length. If you need different products with different lengths, you can set up multiple channels. You can extend. The second thing is, of course, serialized manufacturing. And serialized manufacturing comes with a lot of functionality out of the box. First of all, under settings, you can define the GS1 digital link. GS1 digital link is a technology to actually scan a product code, and you can actually determine what type of information you want to expose to the user. That can be anything. In food, for example, they can scan a product and you can provide a recipe. On clothing, you might even give them an advantage or an idea about how to combine it with other pieces of clothing. Yeah? But GS1 digital link is an important part. When we talk about pharma, what about the electronic leaflet? There is a leaflet in the package, but we can save a lot of money. You can actually scan it and you can get it in your own language, for example. Yeah? The other part that's important, we support different markets. So if you take a look at the different markets, there are different rules and different legislations. And those different legislations are actually embedded in the system. So you can specify for what market are you producing. And at the moment, we pretty much cover all the legislations that are available in the world for pharmaceuticals. If you go to the products, you need to define them. And every product in the world has a unique number, a GTIN. If you go to the supermarket today, there is already a code on there that is in principle a GTIN. It is a number that specifies what product do you have. Why is that code on there? Well, you need to scan it so that you know how much you need to pay for it. That code can be extended with a serial number, and it can be extended with the expiration date, and it can be extended with a lot. And that is exactly what you want to put on the product. So you define your products that you have here, you specify the market. Here we have an example for the US, and then actually it provides you all the details that you need to specify for the US market. If you're in Europe, it provides you the details you need to specify for the European market. So depending on what market the products are for, we will provide you different options. Second thing you need to do, you need to provide the batch information. A batch is being produced, and the thing that you always do, you say, okay, for this particular product, I created a batch. That can be food, that can be pharma, that can be pretty much anything. I can create a batch from here. I just say, what is the batch? What is the expiration date? What is the manufacturing date? We even have the 4i principle. Somebody can actually fill in the data. Somebody else needs to check it to make sure that what you're going to print on your product is actually correct. Because it's happening a lot that people put something in there, they mistype, they produce a big batch, and then somebody finds out like, you forgot it too. You can throw away all the products and repackage them. So we have a 4i principle. I put in the batch, and somebody else needs to check if what I put in there is there. So I reduce my risk. Yeah. What is of course important is the serial numbers. So if I look at my product, I have the serial number management, and I can specify the channel where the serial numbers are coming from. Yeah? And that was the channel I just showed. Yeah. Second thing I can do, I can specify automatic replenishment. What does that mean? Say I have a packaging line and they're running out of serial numbers. They can request serial numbers from the system. And if there's not enough in the pool, the system automatically generates new ones. Yeah. What can I see in the pool? Well, I can take a look in the pool. And here I can see from one product how many serial numbers I have. People sometimes ask, but why can I not see a list of the serial numbers? Well, for security reasons, you don't want to make it too easy to provide people access to all your serial numbers. Yeah? But what you can see is the ones that you have used, meaning they're provided to a partner, they're printed on a label, they're printed on a product, and the ones that are available. What is the difference? If they are available, they're just a number. If they're actually being used, they cannot be used again. Another very important part of our software, if I give serial numbers to my partner, I'm expecting to get the same serial numbers back. If they provide me something back that I didn't provide it, I will not accept it. Yeah? So I have full control over where are my serial numbers and who is using it. If serial numbers are printed on labels, I know they're printed on labels, I cannot reprint them. Why not? Well, say that somebody steals my labels. A counterfeiter would be very interested in having those labels. Yeah? So all those things you need to keep in mind. The last thing is about aggregation. We said you can aggregate products. Also, that is embedded in our system. So we can actually already tell the packaging lines how they need to aggregate the product. So we can say every pack needs to have a serial number. And then, for example, we say, well, you need to take a case and every case needs to be filled with 10 items. And then you put them on a pallet with a palletizer, and every pallet can contain 20 cases, meaning one pallet contains 200 items. Yeah? So that can all be automated. So what are these codes then that go onto a pallet or a case? Well, we call them SSCCs, Serial Shipping Container Codes. So they're actually logistics units. Yeah? Why is that so important? Logistics unit can change in the supply chain. But if I'm the manufacturer, I actually provide those codes to my first one. If you look at the US, in the US they also allow to have aggregated products, which makes it a little complex. It was not a very wise decision, but they make it complex. So you can, for example, take a six-pack. Yeah? The six-pack can have a unique GTIN because you can buy it as a six-pack, and it also have a unique serial number. And then every bottle of the six-pack will have also a different serial number. If I remove one of the items, then actually my complete product six-pack disappears because you cannot sell it as a six-pack anymore. That is the same here. If you have an SSEC, you can take one bottle out of a case, and then you end up with a case, in this case with 9 bottles. Yeah? So that is possible. If you take a look at the SSECs, we also have a pool for those ones, and you can actually generate those. Again, an SSEC is a structured number. It starts with a number that gives an identification about, for example, the hierarchy level. 3 is a case, 5 is a pallet, for example. It gives an indication about the company that is giving out the number, and then it's giving a random number that is generated, and it's finally ended with the so-called check digit. So you can already actually check if the number is correct. You can generate them with our system. You can see the status. So if I want to see the status of something that is already assigned, I can open it up and I keep a complete history. Yeah? So we actually create digital twins of the packs we have. We create digital twins of the containers we have. And from that moment on, we follow everything that happens. And the beauty is also that if we actually want to connect to our business partners, say that I'm a manufacturer and I'm using a business partner that is actually doing the serialization for me, I can actually invite this partner by email. I can just fill in the email address of that partner. They can accept it. They have their own login, and they can see the products that I assign to them. They can see the serial numbers that I assign to them. So I stay under control for my serial numbers, and I give them to that person. And what I actually do, I share the digital twin with them. So I'm not sharing a file, because if I share a file, I have no control what they're going to do with it. I'm sharing access to a digital twin, and I can see in real time what they are doing with my numbers. And that is very important. So from here, I can manage my serial numbers. I take my pool and I say, I give you these serial numbers, and you tell me what to do with it. Yeah. What is also important, I can actually define my packaging lines. So I can define a packaging line. I can have multiple lines. I can define my sites if I want to. So if I have multiple locations with multiple packaging lines, I can define them. So from the cloud, I can control them. Why is that important? Well, we have customers that work all over the world. So from Germany, I can manage my German plant, but I can manage my plant in the US with one click. I can see in real time what is happening there. So that is all important. Packaging lines can be defined, packaging orders can be defined. So now we start about integrating my ERP system. I receive an order in my ERP system, and I can download it into Movilitas.Cloud, saying this needs to be produced in that site on that packaging line. And actually, I can send the order straight to the line produces, the line provides the serial numbers back, and I can actually see what the line has produced. So here I can see all the batches that are being produced and the serial numbers. I can click on an SSEC. I can exactly see what is below it. And this is all in real time, and this is also a live system. Yeah? So we are connected to a live system, and that is also important. The system is very performant. Yeah? Like a lot of other systems, if you press a button because it's so much data, you need to wait till you get an answer. Here you can actually very quickly get to the answers. There are a lot of other things possible with the system. You can integrate it with warehouse management systems. You can integrate it with your 3PLs, your logistics partners. We have scanning solutions. We have genealogy solutions. But the basic thing is, when you want to start with serialization, you can start integrating it with your packaging lines. And if you want to start small, we even have the possibilities to just print labels. You can create a template. We actually provide even support China. But we provide templates so you can print your labels, you can put it on small batches, you can scan them manually if you want to run a small pilot. And I think I want to leave it at that. Ordering is simple. You go to the Siemens Accelerator Marketplace, you press the button. As soon as you press the button, you will get immediately access. You will see your own name, you will see your own logo. We have all the documentation online. When you go to support.movilitas.cloud, you can even do it today. You can read different use cases, how customers use it. All the documentation is available and you're ready to start. And if you don't like us, you can always cancel it, which rarely happens, to be honest. I think I will leave it at that for the moment. Thank you.
Serialization made simple. Mark definitely walks the talk. So you for sure want to know now, what are the first steps to get started? And let me put that question right to you again, Mark. What's the first steps here?
Well, I mean, the first step is, of course, that you need to define why you actually want to do serialization. I mean, just doing serialization for the heck of it doesn't make any sense. So the question is, do you do it for marketing reasons, for legislation, because you want to protect your products, you want to have customer relationships build up? So that is step number one. Step number two, we really suggest to have a talk with one of our experts to talk about your use case, talk about your infrastructure, talk about your partners, and there is no cost involved in that. So that is more a talk to understand your use case so we can support you. And then you can start, you register, and then we help you to make this a success. And that is how we've done it with many customers already.
Great. There is no cost involved. That's for sure the motivating part about it, to get the advice and some ideas. Right. And lots of ideas are provided in the Siemens Accelerator Marketplace, Gerhard.
Absolutely. I mean, we've designed the marketplace for our customers to actually go there to describe their business problems and try to see how can they solve it, how have others solved it, and what ideas are around. Because I believe that a technology like serialization is not just something you want to use only to cover your legal requirements. Of course, you do that, but I hear more and more customers coming up and saying, look, how can we innovate on our product? How can we find a way to reach out to the end users of the product and still provide them additional value, additional services? We talk about product passwords. We talk about getting a better understanding of, for example, the carbon footprint of that very product you're having. So giving access to information that normally you wouldn't have if you just see something somewhere on a shelf. So these ideas, these are the ones that we want to also share and showcase in the marketplace to see how can our customers innovate. It's not about just doing things smarter and faster, but also doing more things and better things so they can get more successful with their customers.
Okay. Now, what about the configurations and existing landscapes? Do I have to start everything from scratch when working with you and looking into details?
Normally not. I mean, it depends, of course, what you have in place. Some companies have nothing in place, and then, yeah, we need to kind of start from scratch. But a typical situation is that there is an existing landscape. The products already exist. They have already packaging lines. They have already automation in place. So then we more or less look together with the customer like, okay, where do we need to place some cameras? Where do we need to place some printers? How do we actually integrate within your business process? Because that is actually what you want to have. I mean, you want to integrate it with your existing business process. You don't want to add it as a layer, you just want to integrate it with what you already have. And that is our goal. And then I think we have the tools to do it. And especially the integration with your business partners is an important part because products are not being built alone. I mean, you do it with partners. And the solution, we also do with partners. So.
Well, for how long have we been working together?
Well, with Instant Engineering Excellence for like 20 years, something like that. So long time. And I think it's good to have that type of partnership there. Now, of course, with you only recently because it's a recent product. It's a recent product, of course. But for me, it's important. It's not just about that we put you on the marketplace and it can be procured from there, but also that we work on an integration pattern, that we work on sample coding. How does that really happen? Because our customers, your customers, they need to make sure how do they quickly bring it into their brownfield environment?
Correct.
And they don't want to have huge amounts of system integrators running around, but basically a very simple way. They register for your software, they set up these accounts, but they can very quickly integrate into, for example, the packaging system that might be run from our side into the MES software and so on. So that's for me part of the partnership, that we go beyond just offering that you can buy subscription for a cloud, but actually making it work, making it real, fast, simple. That's what Accelerator is all about.
It definitely sounds like both of you know how to play the game of serialization. What can we expect from the game? Who wants to start, Mark?
Well, I think more and more products are being serialized for the very simple reason that there is legislation. But if you look at Europe, Europe is taking, I think, a lead in the world when it comes to digital product passports. We want to have passports for every product that is being put on the market. Why do we want to do it in Europe? Well, mainly because of a more circular economy. So you want to be able that you don't just create a product and then it ends up at the garbage. You actually want to reuse it because we're making too much waste. And we see this being covered also in other parts of the world. We see from Australia, people are very heavily involved in building standards. United Nations Transparency Protocol is kind of a protocol that is being built with many people. We're also heavily involved in that part. Identity management is another very important piece when you talk about the internet. How are you sure that the product that you have at hand is actually coming from the company they say it's coming from? So all these things are technically possible. The only thing we need to do now is educate the market that it is technically possible and provide them the tools to implement it in an easy way. Because it is complex, but what we try to do is try to deliver it in a way that we handle the complexity, you solve your problem. That is pretty much how it works.
I absolutely agree with what you said. I just would like to add one more part. I'm a big fan of the whole topic of product passports, because it also helps our customers not only to cover the basic, which they need to cover, but also to innovate. You said really about circular economy going from cradle to grave to cradle economy. But the other part, that's what we saw in our internal discussions around how to use the digital product passport. The important part is, what other things can we offer to the customers? We can, for example, in the serialized, let's say, hardware, we can provide cybersecurity services. We can actually inform them proactively when they register that piece of hardware or that device, that product, what they can do better. We can help them to show them where else they can use that, in which elements. I see customers really now also trying to provide end user service on top of that. But that requires that you very quickly can identify what that product is, that you get that serial number, and you can get specialized targeted information that really is relevant for that one thing you own. Not just for a whole class of product and you have to go through 50 pages of manual to identify which version you're having. No, that's not going to allow innovation. So I think the combination of what Siemens can do, what you do, will actually allow our joint customers to provide innovation to their customers along the whole value chain. And that is great. Battery passport is a good example where this is already starting to take place, where you can understand the condition of a battery, you can understand how repair could happen, how recycling could happen. You can automate recycling around that. You can upgrade firmware just to make sure that you can use it in that condition. It is better. So there are a lot of things you can do, and we're enabling our joint customers to make that happen. So it's just, for me, a stepping stone also for further innovation.
Correct.
Clear visibility at any step of the process. So that's definitely a benefit we bring to the market here all together. Now, I have a lot of questions here. Let's deep dive in there and give you the challenge now to answer them. Mark, first one's to you. How quickly can you set up a pilot?
Actually, very quickly. I mean, you can start very small. I mean, if you have a printer, and everybody pretty much has a printer, I think, nowadays. I mean, you can register, you can generate serial numbers, you can make the label, you can print it, put it manually on there. We have mobile solutions to scan it. So the nice thing about these type of pilots, when people want to have a feeling about what you can do with serialization, we can reduce that to weeks or days. Instead of in the past where people spend first a lot of time describing what we want to do, then asking quotations, how much it's going to cost. Then we're a year down the road, then we're going to select, then we're going to build it, and then it takes 2 years. I mean, why not just start doing it and learning it on the job? I mean,
Okay, sounds great. And you got that solution very well in place. Now, second question, does Siemens provide a standalone solution?
that's actually interesting. I mean, we're working with Siemens, where we actually build from the hardware components from Siemens, like UI, printers from other companies in the back, scanners in the back, some interfaces to the internet, and Movilitas.Cloud on top of it. And this can be used for companies that say, okay, I want to semi-automatic start serializing, so they can move the products towards the printers, we serialize it, everything is automated, and that is a concept that is already worked out. It's available, and hopefully it's going to be available pretty soon on the market, where we might be able to show it live again.
Okay, but to me it sounds quite complex to kind of bring everything together. Is this where we come in place?
But that's exactly the part we're trying to address in this partnership, because it's not just that you can click on there and get a subscription, but actually there's behind this the whole work around creating these concepts, reference architecture, integration patterns, because we want to make it very easy for customers to use it. So you can either say, I have an existing solution and I add your solution on top of that, which is going to happen for many customers because they have an environment that's already running. Or you can say, I want to upgrade, let's say, my packaging line, and then you can buy a combined element immediately. So this is part of what we want to do. We don't want customers to waste their time in integration, but we want them actually to start fast, learn, update, improve, and then add on to this. Because that's the best way to do that. None of our customers really wants to take large investments up front with an unclear value. Yeah. And this is the advantage. That's why we're also driving a lot of our software, modernizing that into cloud modularity, into bringing APIs out there to the market, because this allows our customers to quickly iterate and learn. And speed to market and time to value. This is getting so important for the customers. I don't believe that, let's say, classical, old-fashioned software will ever get a comeback, because it's just too slow.
Time is of essence.
Absolutely.
So, is the system validated? Mark, that one's for you.
Yes, otherwise it would not be allowed to be used within the pharmaceutical industry. But that is a challenge, because validation traditionally is a process where you kind of, you build your software, you test it, you put a big band around it, you don't touch it anymore. Of course, if you talk about a cloud solution, where we also like to innovate, we actually have built a mechanism to do validation and keep the system in a validated state. And although some companies need to get used to this concept, especially quality people that are very familiar with how validation was being done, but more and more large organizations, they need to make a choice. I mean, you either stick to the old way and you don't innovate, or you want to take advantage of innovation, but then you also need to be open to understanding how you can actually do validation in real time. And that is pretty much what we're doing. And we have been audited by many large companies. They spend then 2 or 3 days on premise to validate our procedures, validate our SOPs, our software development life cycles. How do we develop? How do we test? How do we automate? And I'm proud to say that we pass all those audits very well.
And you have a large number of customers who is happily using your services already. So it's not that this is something we try for the first time.
Correct.
You have it in place and they are happy. So talking about a cloud service, is the cloud safe?
Well, that depends how you build your cloud. I mean, is the cloud safe in general? You can argue about it. But we do have the people that, not only software people, but also infrastructure people, that's really built, first of all, a high available cloud. So that is important. We have never had any downtime. So we run 24 hours, 7 days a week. if there would be a disaster, we can be back in 4 hours. We test that also. Luckily enough, that never happened, but that is important.
But you need to test.
You need to test. And yeah, the way that we have built it is that, I mean, you need to go through so many layers before you actually get to the real data. I mean, none of our servers have users. They're all separated from the data. And we have many penetration tests that are being done by also large customers. And so the latest one, they spent about 2 weeks testing really everything. Not only the servers, but also the APIs. They're testing the mobile solutions. And no vulnerabilities have been found. The funny part was that before they could actually test, we needed to shut down all firewalls. Otherwise, they couldn't even test. So I think it's safe, yeah.
Okay, definitely. I mean, for sure, you're professional enough. If you offer cloud services, you know a system behind to be safe. When we talk about data, there is one thing which definitely will be asked. It's artificial intelligence. Can AI be used?
Of course it can. I mean, we could not have any discussion where AI is, first of all, not coming into the game, and second of all, looking at what the value of AI is. But I see in this case AI on 2 different levels. The one part is AI directly on your data, and you could elaborate on that in a minute. But the other part is because you understand serialization, you know where certain numbers are, you can track that through the process. You can actually give that information back to your customers to provide, so they can run AI on the whole value chain, really from where the source to actually where it ends up and where it might be recycled or reused. So you enable your customers to understand their processes a lot better because you can go down not just to the batch at the production, but actually to the whole life cycle of every single product that's at the market.
Yeah, I mean, can AI be used? Of course, AI can be used, but we also need to understand what AI really is. I mean, AI is, in principle, a learning mechanism. And AI is only useful if you have a lot of data. Why is everybody talking about AI? Because over the last 20 years, we created so much data on the internet so that people can actually learn and find patterns. So we're not so unique in the way that we talk because the internet can figure out that people are saying the same things. But of course, what we're doing is we're collecting a lot of data. I mean, everything that is happening in our platform, but literally everything is being stored. Every button that is being pressed, everything that is being scanned. So that is an enormous amount of data. But what is also important is the data is owned by our customers.
Okay.
So we will never, ever use their data to learn or use AI on their data, unless they want us to do that, of course. But they have the data and it's their data. We have possibilities that we can run AI models to learn from the data, like where is your product ending up to? You can, for example, optimize your supply chain, like where do I need to put a distribution center, for example, because most of my customers are actually in that area, something that most manufacturers today don't know. I mean, they know that they provide it to my first distributor, but where it ends up, they don't know. If my consumer is actually going to scan or the pharmacy is going to scan, then I know, that is where my products end up with. Yeah? Or I can use it to see, hey, certain medicines are used in that area, so what's happening in that area?
There,
people have a certain disease. Why? So there is a lot that our customers can learn from it, and yeah, we need to protect our customers and protect their data, and that is very important because if we would misuse the data, I would probably lose all my customers.
Oh, of course, but I think it's great to see how far these ways are where you can really use the data, not just for production, but as you mentioned, is there something going on? Do we need to prepare for something bigger? Is there an area where we need to really be very, very careful? That's great. So lots of questions still here, but we're running out of time. So final question to both of you. What are the key takeaways our audience shall remember from this session?
Well, I think a big takeaway is that serialization can really provide you a business value. I mean, it's not just being compliant. You can really look at a lot of use cases, maintenance, having direct contact with your customers. So really think about, okay, what value can I get as a business out of serialization? Second thing I think is we provide a platform to easily get started without any risk. I think another thing that is very important is integrating your business partners doesn't have to be complex and expensive. It's like the Facebook model. You want to be my friend, yes or no? Yeah. If you don't want to be my friend anymore, I cut you off. That is kind of the model. Yeah, and I think the last thing is, I mean, you have an existing infrastructure, and that is why we have this partnership with Siemens, because they dominate the market when it comes to the packaging lines, is that we really want to work together to say, okay, use your existing infrastructure for whatever product you have to make this happen.
Okay.
And if I want to,
convincing.
I think on top of that, for me, there are two more points. I think with broader ones. So the one part is this: because you have a cloud solution, the integration into existing lines is very simple. So the way we drive openness actually creates business value, which I think is an important thing to keep in mind. The second part is we brought you into the Siemens Accelerator ecosystem because your innovation helps our customers be more successful. And overall, there's an added value by combining our capabilities, your capabilities, and other ecosystem partner capabilities together.
Correct.
So our customers can innovate faster and better. And I think that's also important. Use those business values that we have, leverage what is in Siemens Accelerator, because that's going to make our customers overall better.
So thanks so much, Mark and Gerhard. For sure, you will get many, many new friends after this session today, that's for sure. Thank you for sharing your insights, all the detailed information, and for taking the time staying with us here in the studio. Great having you here. And dear audience, thank you for staying with us and sending all these questions. Our team backstage is quite busy, so it really shows interest from your side and enthusiasm in the topic. That's cool to know. A recording of this session will be available for you shortly. We will send an email to you with key takeaways from that session and with more information on available information on the Siemens Accelerator platform, our partners. So it's best to stick with this community because it's a great place to hang around. If you like this session, there is much more information and many more webinars available. Definitely use all that information because it's going to help you to move forward and get some new ideas and partners and friends. And with this, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, connected, and always stay curious. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.